Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of With Conviction, a story of hope, horror, and history. My name is Rain, my pronouns are she, her, and I am your GM for this adventure. With me are my heroes for this campaign. Why don't you all introduce yourselves?
Hi there, I'm Alice. I play Desdemona Hartwood. Both of us use she and they pronouns. Desdemona is a rose heart guardian magical girl. She's a sort of gothy, punky girl by day, magical pink girl by rest of day. But right now, just back in civilian clothes.
Hi, I'm Skylin. My pronouns are they and them, and I play Chris Whitlock, whose pronouns are she or any. Chris is our sports captain magical, not a girl, who is our firebrand artillery.
And I am Rob. My pronouns are he, him, and I play Eliza, whose pronouns are she, her. Eliza is our stalwart soul warrior magical girl, and she is realizing the odds are stacked against her now.
Indeed, because you had attempted to face down Hazel and Faith and very quickly been supported by Des, but through a tense exchange of words and occasionally blades, Des had been pushed to her breaking point, with the light beginning to call to her subconscious, and she couldn't continue anymore, leaving just you and her weakened form. And Chris, we had just left explaining what she intended to do and the consequences of decisions that the group of people that she had found would have to make. So, as we rejoin Chris, you step out onto the sidewalk and the door closes behind you. There is a moment. And then the door opens and closes, and there's a pair of footsteps. And another pair of footsteps. If Eliza needs me that bad, then I should go.
I promise the rest of those folks will be safe at the end of this.
I am sure they will. As we discussed, everything will be reset. As for the rest of us, I think it would be prudent for us to find our way out. Shall we go?
Chris nods and leads the way. The direction she is taking is an attempt at out via some way to see where the center is in hopes that she might come across Eliza or Des.
Indeed. Roll to place yourself.
Okay. That is 8 on the dice, plus 2 is 10.
10. With a 10, you are, in fact, able to keep track of where you're going. With a 10, you are not just letting your muscle memory guide you. You are following your muscle memory accurately. You know you need to turn at this sidewalk. At this particular building, you need to cross the street. And you begin to pick out landmarks. You begin to recognize things. But you don't place yourself just yet. Instead, with a 10, you see a large open space full of monsters with Hazel and Faith on a balcony and Des and Eliza in front of them. What are you doing?
I'm going to start with taking a careful look at the situation. What does Chris see if she peers carefully and dials in her eyes?
You see monsters around a burbling fountain coming out of a crater in the earth. Well, in the marble. You see stairs leading up to a small balcony, now very crowded. You see Hazel braced, one hand protectively out in front of this false faith, and the other holding the sword that you made. You see Eliza confronting her, and you see Des leaning tired against the railing. It looks like if she had to exert herself, you're not sure she would be able to.
Okay. Chris pivots and looks quickly at her two charges and is trying to decide if there's a place that she can put them that they will be safe so she can take care of her team. Is there anywhere nearby where she can have them hide?
Roll inspect.
Come on, dice. Dice said barely. That is a 6 on the dice, plus 1 is 7.
You see the far side of a building where someone might be able to hide from this tableau. Faith looks at you. We should... Can we make a distraction or get Eliza out of there, or...
Yeah, fuck it, you're with me. Chris has made a decision. She has no plan, but she has made a decision.
That's my firebrand.
Can I take that shift trigger?
You can, and you can also take courage.
Ooh.
Chris walks toward the monsters. She is putting some necessary faith in Hazel in this second. And she looks up at that balcony. Hazel! Hazel, I have faith! Chris hoists Faith up and puts this dreamlike faced girl on her shoulders and spreads her wings wide, darkness crackling like lava on the bat that is in her hands.
Everyone turns to look at you. Hazel looks at you. Eliza, I assume, looks at you.
Big time.
This other Faith turns to look at you, to look at Faith. The monsters on the ground closest to you turn to look at you and to look at Faith. You do not have a full action to do anything. You have a fraction of a second. What are you doing?
Chris stamps her foot, raising herself up just a few inches on a pedestal of earth in the middle of this marble parking lot. Hazel, send these monsters away so we can talk!
As the word talk comes out of your mouth, these monsters are already rushing toward you. They are swarming around you. They are tearing. They are clawing. The ones clawing at you roll an 11. So you take 2 points of stress.
A bunch of glass materializes just in front of her and deflects these claws, eating 2 points of stress.
Excellent. Excellent.
Chris smiles. It's sad. She knows what that means.
The ones attacking Faith have a bit less success. They only roll a 7. Lashing out, clawing, biting, tearing. They only deal 1 point of stress to Faith. She screams out in fear as these claws dig into her.
Captain's got you. Don't worry.
Eliza,
Mm-hmm.
Hazel looks at you and looks at this scene and says, "For the last time, just get them out of here." And she dashes down the stairs, leaps the last few, and throws herself in front of Chris and Faith and shouts, "Stop!" What are you doing?
Eliza is actually, and I think this says something about the two of them, Eliza is doing the same thing. The only difference is that she grabs Dez by the belt. Because I'm going to take a guess and say that Dez has a very prominent belt in her casual clothes.
I'm like a Kingdom Hearts character, yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. So Eliza grabs Dez by the belt, and her jets kick in, streaking indigo fire as she flies and lands in front of Chris and Faith. Unlike Hazel, and I think she isn't processing that Hazel has done basically the same thing, she doesn't just say stop. As Eliza lands in front of the monsters, her fire shifts from indigo to purple because she is putting herself in harm's way to protect others, which is a darkness trigger.
Mm-hmm.
And she is dashing at this horde of monsters, letting out her sword in a long horizontal sweep, purple fire streaking across them. Would you like me to do a fight roll?
What I would like you to do,
Hmm?
and I think you've already committed to one choice, but I would like you to make either a fight roll or a flee roll. And if you make a flee roll, Chris will be able to help you as the two of you work to get Faith and Dez out of there without any further harm.
As Eliza comes down from the balcony, she can see just how worn Chris is. Eliza knows Chris well enough at this point to know when she's putting on a show, and this is that.
So, unfortunately for what Rob wants, Eliza wants to do stupid heroics, even though they're not the right choice here. She's going for that fight roll. She rolled a 9 on the dice, so 11 for the fight against the horde of monsters.
Mm-hmm. And how much damage is that?
That's going to inflict 5 stress. And then we see her crouching in the aftermath of this fight, and she raises her left hand. It's empty for a moment, and then we see moisture and frost and snow congeal into her hand, and there's a flash. and suddenly she is holding a second sword. Back when she cleared stress and conviction, she spent a point of experience. She spent that point of experience plus the one she had banked, and picked up the sweep ability, which reads, "You are at home in the thick of the fight. As long as you have at least one darkness, you can fight a second target for free as long as you used your action to fight." Now, this is a whole bunch of monsters. Will you qualify that as 2 separate targets for her?
I think that's very fair. Why don't you go ahead and make your second fight roll?
The other one is a 7 on the dice. Because I feel like this might be the last roll of this bit, I'm going to actually spend courage to upgrade that to a 9, and finding patterns makes that an 11. So that's another clump of 5 stress.
Indeed. You are carving through these monsters. They are hungry and they are focused, and they don't notice as you set upon them. You don't so much sweep past them as you do carve through them. There are gouts of flame and frost as you disappear into the crowd, and it vanishes, it evaporates around you. These monsters begin to scatter and disperse, and you see Hazel glaring at you, but she's more focused on the monsters. And you get to Chris and Faith. Eliza?
Faith?
Are you okay?
I am doing great. And she turns, swords both in hand, taking a stance against Hazel and the rest of the monsters.
Eliza,
Mm-hmm.
no.
There's a pause. Eliza's still in that stance. She looks at blind Faith, looks at the corner of her eye out of the true Faith. We got what we came for.
You still have Des, yes?
I believe so. Given how she's got a sword in each hand, I guess Des is just tossed over her shoulder.
That, considering how you've been moving, I'm surprised that she's still.
Well, Des is conscious. She's holding on.
I got the sense that Eliza came down with both these nerds in her hands, plopped Des down at Chris's feet, and then did the swords. But I'm not sure if that's accurate.
That was what I intended, yeah. Although I kind of like the idea that we're just whipping Des around like a Pomeranian.
I'm the third sword.
Made of glass.
Does Eliza have Des in her teeth?
A Lizoro.
Exactly. Okay.
Still willing to let us leave, Hazel?
Hazel just looks at you, and her shoulders slump, and she just. Why wouldn't I be? Just go.
I want to know, Hazel.
Just go!
Okay.
Hazel, will you come with us?
No, I'm too busy. I have work to do.
Chris's shoulders fall. Not so much that they dislodge the faith that is there.
Chris, roll empathy.
Or charm?
Empathy.
That's an 8 on the dice.
You see Hazel swallow and set her lips in a grim line.
Chris takes Faith off her shoulders and sort of hands her to Eliza.
Eliza's swords both discorporate and she wraps Faith in a hug.
Chris steps forward and wraps Hazel in a hug.
Hazel recoils. Just fucking Chris, just stop. Just go.
I am going, Hazel. And she sort of presses her head into Hazel's armor, turns around, picks up Des, slings her over her shoulder, and walks away.
Eliza takes Faith's arm and follows.
Eliza, as you leave a distance from this scene, you see a man with a widow's peak appear to one side and begin to walk with you.
Hello?
What none of you see is Hazel, who takes a moment and drops to one knee. She, from beneath her visor, tears begin to roll down her cheeks. It's a moment before this false faith joins her, wrapping her in a hug, and there is the gentle glow of light in her hands. She says, "It's okay. I know. I know. I'm so sorry. Don't worry about them. I know this is complicated, but it's all going to work out in the end." And Hazel doesn't say anything, but she sniffs and wipes the tears away and stands up and turns to these visages of light who have survived. And they line up before her. And she plunges her hand into the face of the first one. So, Des and Chris and Eliza, you are lost in the gray. What are you doing?
So, who's this guy?
I'm surprised you don't recognize me.
This, until he gives me a better name, is Widowpeak Fucker.
When he opens his mouth, Eliza's head whips around.
I'm told it's a working title.
Only till you give me a better one.
I'm sure I'll come up with something.
Des raises her head and goes, I don't know, pretty apt. You put it on your business card. Widow Peak Fucker. She's a little out of it.
Chris takes a decisive lead and does her best to find them a quiet place to talk for just a moment. Does she find one?
I think so, yes. A place that is only half consumed by the light. There is a fresh patch of grass and a small tree, not enough to give shade. It's still a sapling. It does only have some spots of gold and white on it.
Chris sets Des down and looks at Eliza. I know we have faith, and I know we want all of her back. But we're not in a shape to do it.
Eliza looks at Dez, looks at Chris. Yeah, you're right.
Also, she points at Mr. Widowpeak. Your answer man.
Yeah, so were you in here the whole time?
Chris actually doesn't give Mr. Widowpeak a chance to answer. She sort of runs down the conversation that they had. That, yes, he was here when this was made. He's been trying to get out. That they, as a group, mostly have a solid understanding of things, but there are some details that we might be able to bother this guy for answers for. And she finishes that summary with, you said that grays all have different entry conditions. I thought this one didn't really have a lock? A door?
Hazel told me it did.
And?
I asked her what it was, and she just told me to leave, so...
How many times have you been here?
Chris holds up 2 fingers.
Just the one for us.
Not much of a pattern, but did you find anything in common? Each time you entered, something you may have done inadvertently, perhaps?
I drove in by accident.
A little light bulb symbol made of fire appears above Eliza's head.
Oh my god.
Faith pokes at it.
It's fire.
She doesn't like touch it, but she definitely leans in and sort of pokes a bit.
I think I've got it. Okay, so this just occurred to me. We had the writer's gray. The lock there was that the writer needed his sword, right?
Chris nods.
It was a weapon. The blade is the key. Was how we got it. We got in there. Here, what did I pick up just before we made our way in? Does anyone know where that pipe went?
Chris shakes her head. I don't think that's it.
Yeah, funny as that would be, Chris and Jesse didn't have it the first time they came in here.
Oh. Huh. Right. Okay, so not that.
Chris walks around the sapling. She's got one hand touching it, and she does a few circles in one direction, switches directions, and goes a few circles there. Eliza, you can tell she's thinking, which is maybe not normal for Chris.
You feel the same sort of sensation as when you've been on a long drive and you see the first sign to get home.
I think we can't get in here on purpose. Hazel doesn't want to be forgotten. The light is making sure she is.
I mean, in both cases, we set out to get into the gray on purpose.
But I was lost.
Yeah,
Found
but
it on accident. We didn't realize we were walking into it this time.
I don't think that's. It doesn't super click as a key to get in here.
I think if it's not the pipe, I think maybe the key is just us. That we're the ones that Hazel maybe was thinking about when we're the ones she was trying to help when this all started. it might just be that the 3, maybe 4 of us can get in at will and nobody else can.
Des,
Yeah?
Chris is on the verge of tears.
Oh. Des stumbles forward and wraps Chris in a hug. We're gonna figure this out. And we were making progress. We just need to get hit a little less.
I think Eliza's right. I think Hazel and maybe Faith too, and our love for them is it.
What's that thing? Faith, hope, and love? Was that it?
And these 3 remain: faith, hope, and love. But the strongest of these is love.
When Faith finishes, the strongest of these is love. Eliza finishes it along with her.
Chris pulls all of them into a hug and is crying openly. She grabs Widow Peakfucker too. He has to be in on this.
Is he part of this now?
You're part of the team now, jerkface.
Oh,
Very well.
all right. So, we saw that this place has defined edges. I say we just pick a direction and start heading there.
Chris breaks out of the hug and sniffs and nods.
I'd fly us over there, but
Chris picks up Des and slings her over the shoulder again.
Wow, you're strong.
Don't make me do this too much.
Eliza, you're blushing.
No, I'm not. Nope, that's just because I'm red all the time because of fire. Yeah.
as her face from behind Chris is like, she's not the only one.
Chris picks a direction, as Eliza suggested, and walks.
Roll with decisive.
Is that because Skyland said that they decisively pick a direction earlier?
No.
Oh, okay. I was thinking it.
This is a 5 and a 2 on the dice. I'm going to spend courage to make that 5 and a 4 is a 9 plus 1 is 10.
Very nice. You begin to go in a direction, and you immediately realize that direction is wrong. And you turn around and you follow your muscle memory. You follow your gut. You follow that feeling, as ironic as it may be to use this term, your guiding light, your North Star. Right here, left there, there's that building. We go straight. There's that sign. We turn here. 1, 2, 3 roads, then we turn left. And you start to recognize things again. You start to pick out things that just tickle your memory just a bit, like you feel like you've been here before. And then you're like, wait, don't I know that place? And you look around and you realize you recognize the street you're on. You know exactly which way to go. You continue down the road and you turn left at the T-junction. And the sky is normal again. And there are cars on the road. And you can see people going about their business.
Chris quickly de-transforms and gets back into street clothes.
Eliza does the same.
Des would do the same, except
You're already in street clothes, it's fine.
Exactly.
Chris turns to see if Widow Peak Jerk is still with them.
He is following quite closely behind you.
Chris points up to the sky. We made it. Now we recover.
That seems prudent.
Are we near the park where we parked Eliza's car, or are we very in a different place?
I think you are very in a different place.
Cool. Chris calls Jesse and asks them to pick up the group.
Yeah, they pick you up maybe like 30 minutes later.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Are we just walking around with like a Faith with no proper face?
Nobody seems to be looking in your direction at the moment, if that's what you're asking.
When Jesse picks them up, Chris rustles around in her bug out bag that's in Jesse's car and pulls out a sweatshirt and tosses that onto Faith and pulls the hood up.
What?
Keep the hood up.
I mean, I'm not
You-
that cold.
You don't look like yourself right now, and we don't need extra questions.
Huh?
Hey, Jesse, do you recognize this person?
One, two, three. Oh, no, I don't think we've met.
Is Jesse looking at Widow Peak Fucker or at Faith?
Faith.
Does her face look like... I'm not being mean, I promise. Does her face look like there's some magical interference going on or something?
It's
Because she should look...
so.
like-
I mean, don't take this the wrong way, but it's kind of. I mean, you're easy to miss. You just kind of, blend into the crowd.
Okay, I guess that works. It's not right, because the real Faith is absolutely gorgeous, but that's a whole other thing.
Chris grins at Eliza.
Eliza is now getting into the car as if she hadn't said anything unusual. Anyone who looks at her face can see she is once again bright red.
All right, Widow Peak, you get the center seat. Special treatment.
You turn around to talk to him, and he seems to have disappeared.
You fucker!
I knew it as soon as Jesse counted 3 people. Yep. Yep.
Oh my god.
Eliza just looks out. So his work here is done and he didn't do anything?
He's
My
never
God.
getting a new nickname. I don't care what he says.
He's Tuxedo Max.
Widow Peak Fucker is so much better. And she ushers everybody else into the car and asks Jesse to drive them to 3rd Winchester Battlefield Park so they can pick up Eliza's car, and then Jesse can go home if they want to, while the rest of them go back to Dez's place.
So, do you do anything on the way back? Or do you wait until you get there, back home?
Eliza is talking about how Virginians considered the blandest of stuff to be spicy.
And Chris is filling in Jesse on what happened in the Gray. And in the middle of that, she goes, "Shit, I need to talk to Morgan."
So, do you want me to drop you off at your place, or
Chris looks at Des and Eliza. Is it okay with you if I go home and talk to the team?
Eliza nods.
Des shuffles in her seat and goes, "Well, the leashes aren't here yet, so yeah, that's fine. You're not gonna go running off again, are you?"
No.
Yeah. You can take them home.
so you are dropped off at your place at the volleyball house. Jesse's car pulls away with everyone else on the way to pick up Eliza's car. You can see a couple of other cars in the driveway. You walk inside, and you can see Veronica and Aiden talking at the table, discussing a book. And you can see Morgan cooking something in the kitchen.
Chris checks to make sure that Morgan doesn't have anything excessively sharp or excessively hot in her hands before giving her a hug from behind.
Hey, Cap.
Hey. I figured now might be a good time to take you up on your offer.
Oh. Yeah, sure.
Chris leans around to look at the stove. Do you need any help first?
No, I was just setting it to simmer.
Chris nods, takes a breath, and gives a summary of what happened. The team already knows about magic, so she skips some of that and gives the simplified version that Hazel is deep in some shit and that she and her friends who can also do magic are trying to get it sorted. And that's why Hazel's upset. Because Hazel doesn't understand what's wrong.
So when you say deep in the shit, what is that?
It means that instead of having things taken from her, she is now the one taking things from people. And when she tries to fix it, it makes things worse. And I don't know how to get her to see that what she's doing doesn't work.
Hazel's always been the stubborn type. You might have to try and hit her with a clue by 4.
Chris laughs at that.
You know, beat a little sense into her.
Chris sighs and I wish that weren't so literal.
What?
And
No, oh God, no, I was not being literal. To be clear, do not commit assault. Do not be gay, do crimes is a metaphor. I do not, please do not do anything that would end with you in jail.
Chris just looks at Morgan with sort of a sad determination. I'm going to clean up. I'll be down for dinner in a bit. And she
All right.
pops upstairs. And Skylan hands the camera to whoever wants it next.
I was about to say, Des and Eliza, what are you talking about as you pull into the driveway?
Eliza's been a bit quiet this whole drive home, but she's occasionally looking over at the passenger seat where Faith is, and that seems to reassure her.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Des is starting to fall asleep after all that.
Mm.
Pretty maxed out.
So they pull up to Dez's house, and I think Eliza has like an established spot she parks in by now.
That would make sense.
Yeah, and she just gets out and just, Faith, do you... There's something I'm scared about, Faith.
Yeah?
Jesse didn't recognize you. And you two have met before.
We have?
Okay, so you don't remember them either. That makes sense, I guess. It's a two-way street. The thing I'm worried about is that your parents might not recognize you either.
Oh, oh God.
This isn't super my place to offer, but I bet Dez's parents would let you stay here for a few days at least.
Okay.
Eliza reaches out and
You're
puts a
fine.
hand on Faith's arm.
Thanks. Okay. And as you put the car in park and bring your friend inside, I think that's where we will leave this episode. Thank you, everyone, so much for listening, and thank you to my players, and I hope to see you next time. Have a good night. Thank you again for joining us on this adventure. With Conviction is a production of Silver Maiden Games. If you would like to play Conviction, check out the game at silvermaidengames.itch.io. Music for the intro and outro of this podcast is A Soul with Conviction by Doom Vega, who you can find on Bandcamp. Music within the episodes is by Rachel Rose Mitchell, who you can find on Bandcamp and Spotify. All rights to the music are retained by their original artist. Production and editing are done by myself and the With Conviction cast. Thank you all. This would not be what it is without you. You can find this podcast on Spotify and YouTube or silvermaidengames.wordpress.com. You can also find more about the game, podcast, and ways to contact us at silvermaidengames.wordpress.com.